Isabella Moore sat in the sunlit conservatory of the Blackwell mansion, her hands resting gently on her swollen belly. The media called her life a modern fairy tale, the radiant wife of Ethan Blackwell, the tech billionaire who could seemingly do no wrong. Together, they graced magazine covers, hosted lavish charity galas, and smiled for the cameras as if their marriage were carved out of perfection itself. But behind the shimmering glass walls of their empire, a silence had begun to grow, heavy, suffocating, and sharp around the edges. Ethan had changed. His once tender goodnight kisses had become absent-minded pecks. He now spent long hours at business meetings that stretched past midnight. Sometimes he came home smelling faintly of a floral perfume she didn't wear. Isabella tried to brush it off, telling herself it was stress or exhaustion, anything but betrayal. Yet when she caught him muttering softly on the phone late one night, his voice low and guilty, a chill slid through her chest. Still, she smiled for the cameras, for the staff, for the world, protecting not just her image, but the fragile peace around her unborn child. But that illusion shattered when she cleaned his suit jacket one afternoon and found a folded receipt tucked inside the pocket. A 5-star hotel, 2 nights, booked under Ethan's name. The handwriting on the reservation note wasn't his. For the first time, Isabella realized the truth might destroy far more than her heart. It could ruin everything. Vanessa Cole was everything the tabloids adored. Tall, striking, and dangerously self-assured. A former marketing consultant turned luxury brand ambassador, she had mastered the art of blending seduction with ambition. Her affair with Ethan Blackwell began innocently enough. Business meetings over champagne dinners, laughter shared across penthouse suites, and whispers of "you understand me better than anyone." But soon those whispered words became promises, and Vanessa began to believe them. She imagined herself as the next Mrs. Blackwell, already envisioning her life in Isabella's mansion, her face on magazine covers, her hand on Ethan's arm at red carpet events. To her, Isabella was just an obstacle, a fragile, naive woman clinging to a love that had long expired. Vanessa's phone was filled with secret texts from Ethan. "I wish I were with you. You're my escape." Late-night calls blurred into stolen weekends in hotel suites that overlooked the city lights. Vanessa bragged to her equally shallow friends, swirling her wine with a smirk. "He's practically mine already. That wife of his has no idea." But Isabella wasn't as blind as Vanessa assumed. The hints were too sharp to ignore. Ethan's cologne laced with an unfamiliar floral scent, his sudden obsession with his phone, his distracted silences during dinner. When Isabella tried to meet his eyes, he'd look away too quickly. The perfect facade of their marriage was cracking, and though Vanessa believed she had won, she didn't realize she was playing a game Isabella had just begun to understand, one she would soon turn to her own advantage. The truth arrived in a small black envelope, silent, heavy, and devastating. Isabella sat alone in her study as the private investigator placed the folder on her desk, his expression grim. "You should prepare yourself, Mrs. Blackwell," he said softly before leaving. Her trembling fingers opened it. Inside were photographs and video stills, Ethan and Vanessa in a hotel suite, his hands on her waist, his lips on hers, their laughter frozen in time. Each image felt like a blade carving through her chest. For a long time, Isabella couldn't breathe. Her world, once made of love, trust, and expectation, collapsed into a suffocating silence. She replayed the footage over and over, as if hoping the man in it wasn't her husband. But the truth was undeniable. The man she had built a life with, the father of her unborn child, had betrayed her in the most public and humiliating way possible. Yet, instead of rage, a chilling calm settled over her. She didn't scream, didn't call him, didn't break a single thing. Instead, she began gathering every piece of evidence, receipts, call logs, photographs, methodically, like a scientist documenting a case study. That night, she sat by her bedroom window, one hand resting on her swollen belly. "I'll protect you," she whispered to her unborn child, voice breaking. "You'll never grow up in a house built on lies." She opened her laptop, downloaded a legal template, and began typing, "Petition for divorce." Her heart was shattered, but her will had never been stronger. The door clicked open, and the familiar sound of Ethan's polished shoes echoed through the marble foyer. He carried his usual confident air, expensive suit, faint scent of cologne, and the smug calm of a man convinced his double life remained hidden. But as he stepped into the living room, his world tilted. Isabella sat on the couch, dressed in a simple cream gown, a stack of thick papers resting neatly on the coffee table. Her face was pale, her hands steady. "Welcome home," she said quietly, her tone sharp as glass. Ethan blinked, sensing the shift in the air. "Bella, what's this?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she pushed the papers toward him. "Divorce papers," she said evenly. "Signed. Dated. All that's missing is your signature." The color drained from his face. "Bella, please let me explain." "Explain what?" she interrupted, her voice calm but cutting. "The hotel receipts. The late-night calls. Or the woman in the videos." He stepped closer, hands raised in desperation. "It was a mistake. I wasn't thinking clearly." "You were thinking clearly enough to book a suite under your name," she shot back. "You built your empire on deceit, Ethan. I won't let my child inherit that." Ethan's mask cracked. Anger flashed beneath his guilt. "You'd throw everything away over one mistake." "No," Isabella whispered, standing slowly, her hand resting protectively on her belly. "You already did." Her eyes, once soft with love, now held only resolve. Ethan realized, too late, that she wasn't breaking down. She was breaking free. Within days, whispers began to ripple through their immaculate world. The once envied couple, Ethan and Isabella Blackwell, became the subject of hushed conversations and speculative glances. The mansion that once hosted glamorous fundraisers now buzzed with quiet judgment. At brunch, Isabella's friend Charlotte reached across the table, squeezing her hand gently. "You don't owe anyone an explanation," she murmured. "He made his choices. But others weren't as kind." Ethan's mother called one evening, her tone heavy with disappointment. "Marriage isn't perfect, Isabella. You should forgive him, for the child's sake." Isabella closed her eyes, exhaustion lacing her words. "Forgiveness is earned, not begged for after betrayal." Meanwhile, Ethan's friends urged him to fix the optics. "The press is circling," one warned. "Handle it before the board starts doubting your stability." But the damage was already spreading. A journalist caught wind of the tension, and soon tabloids splashed with headlines. "Billionaire marriage on the brink. Pregnant wife files divorce." Reporters camped outside their gates, cameras flashing every time Isabella stepped out. Yet she faced them with poise, calm, composed, dressed in elegant simplicity that made the public rally behind her. Her quiet strength became her armor. Every photo of her smiling faintly with her hand on her belly was another nail in Ethan's crumbling reputation. He watched helplessly as public sympathy shifted entirely to her. For the first time in his life, the man who once commanded empires couldn't control a single narrative, not even his own. The following weeks unfolded like a calculated storm. Isabella moved with quiet precision, her every step guided by a calm ruthlessness Ethan never knew she possessed. In a sleek law office overlooking the city, her attorney slid a folder across the table, filled with evidence that could dismantle Ethan's fortune and his public image in one sweep. "We'll proceed with full custody, financial transparency, and inheritance protections," the lawyer said. "You've documented everything perfectly, Mrs. Blackwell. This isn't just a divorce, it's strategy." Isabella nodded, her hands resting over her growing belly. "My child will never be collateral in his empire." Meanwhile, Ethan sat in his own attorney's office, his jaw tight as his legal team recited the damages. "She's claiming spousal betrayal, emotional distress, and demanding half of all joint holdings," one lawyer listed. "And there are concerns about the offshore transfers you made last quarter." Ethan slammed his fist on the table. "Those were business. Illegal business if proven," the lawyer interrupted grimly. In court, their paths crossed briefly. Cameras flashed. Ethan looked exhausted, while Isabella radiated quiet determination. During the hearing, her lawyer presented damning financial documents, transactions Ethan never imagined she'd find. His confidence began to fracture under the judge's gaze. The man who once negotiated billion-dollar deals now sat powerless, watching his empire unravel, not through fury or revenge, but through the icy precision of a woman who refused to be silenced. For Isabella, justice wasn't vengeance, it was survival. Vanessa's glamorous world collapsed faster than she could comprehend. Once admired for her beauty and confidence, she now faced flashing cameras and ruthless headlines. The mistress who broke a billionaire marriage. Former friends stopped answering her calls. Her company terminated her contract, citing ethical image concerns. Desperation consumed her. She sent message after message to Ethan. "You said you'd protect me," she typed, tears smearing her makeup. But Ethan didn't reply. He was too busy salvaging his crumbling reputation, avoiding the very woman he had once promised the world to. Reporters hounded her outside her apartment, demanding a comment. "Was it worth it?" one shouted. Vanessa turned away, sunglasses hiding her swollen eyes, but the shame was unbearable. In stark contrast, television screens showed Isabella walking out of court with serene grace, her hand resting gently on her stomach, the embodiment of quiet strength. The public adored her, while Vanessa became the villain of a story she thought she'd won. At night, sitting alone in her dark apartment, Vanessa finally realized she had gambled everything for a man who would never truly stand beside her. Greed had given her luxury, but it stole her soul. Isabella, the woman she envied, had won through dignity, not deception. After months of chaos and public scrutiny, Isabella withdrew from the world's noise. The mansion, once echoing with tension and staged perfection, now felt peaceful. Sunlight streamed through open windows as she sipped tea by the nursery window, gently humming to the tiny life growing inside her. Her journal lay open beside her, filled with words that bled both pain and healing. "I forgive, but I will never forget," she had written one night, her handwriting steady, her heart stronger. Close friends visited often, bringing warmth and laughter back into her days. Charlotte read stories aloud, insisting, "Your baby deserves joy, not silence." Her brother handled the media, shielding her from unwanted attention. Slowly, Isabella began to rediscover herself, a woman beyond the betrayal, beyond the billionaire's shadow. Ethan tried reaching out. Flowers, letters, desperate pleas to talk. One afternoon, he showed up at the gate, eyes hollow. "I made a mistake, Bella. Please, let me fix this." She looked at him through the iron bars, her expression calm but resolute. "You can't rebuild trust with apologies, Ethan. My child deserves peace, not promises." As she walked back inside, the quiet house no longer felt empty. It felt safe, her sanctuary of renewal. Within weeks, Isabella's name became synonymous with strength and grace. News anchors and magazine covers celebrated her story, the woman who chose dignity over wealth. Social media overflowed with admiration, women across the world calling her an inspiration. Every photo of her holding her newborn, serene and confident, became a symbol of quiet defiance against betrayal. In her first televised interview, Isabella spoke softly but with conviction. "It's not about revenge," she said, her voice steady. "It's about remembering your worth, even when someone else forgets it. My child will grow up knowing that love without respect is just illusion." The world applauded her wisdom. Commentators praised her calm strength, her refusal to engage in drama or bitterness. Meanwhile, Ethan's downfall became public spectacle. His business partners distanced themselves, his company shares plummeted, and his face appeared in tabloids not as a billionaire, but as a cautionary tale, the man who lost everything for desire. Vanessa vanished from headlines entirely, a ghost of scandal. Isabella, however, rose above it all, poised, graceful, untouchable. Her story no longer belonged to pain. It belonged to resilience. She wasn't the betrayed wife anymore. She was the woman who redefined power with silence and self-respect. Months later, the sound of a baby's cry filled Isabella's new home, a cozy villa by the sea, far from the chaos of her old life. She held her newborn son close, feeling his heartbeat against hers. The world outside no longer intimidated her. It was quiet, gentle, and hers to rebuild. Gone were the glittering chandeliers and empty luxury, replaced by sunlight, laughter, and peace. As days turned into weeks, she poured her energy into creating the Aurora Foundation, an organization dedicated to helping women escape toxic marriages, financial manipulation, and emotional betrayal. Her story had given her purpose, not vengeance but empowerment. Meanwhile, Ethan's empire was nothing more than a headline of the past. Former allies refused his calls, investors walked away, and he spent his days in quiet isolation, haunted by what he had destroyed with his own arrogance. One evening, Isabella sat on the porch, cradling her baby as the sun dipped below the horizon. "We're free now," she whispered softly. "And we'll never let anyone take that from us." Her baby cooed, and she smiled through quiet tears. In that tender moment she realized. Her greatest victory wasn't justice served. It was peace earned.